Yes, the answer is obviously yes. Do you need to ask the question?
Maybe what we should talk about is your attitude today on the podcast.
I love how it gets turned.
We should talk about your attitude. Are we rolling? I think we're rolling, babe. We're rolling. Anything you want to say about your attitude?
My husband's having an attitude problem today. I apologize for him in advance.
We need to make sure this is all part of the show, friends. The real world shit. The real world stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Excuse me. Welcome to the Sean and Sax show. We're renaming the show.
Are we?
It's the Sean and Sax debacle. Sean and Sax debacle. It's the Sean talks about Sax's attitude problem show. Anyways, guys, welcome to the show. This is real. This is real though. Like that's what I love. Like we don't wait until we're in the fucking rosy mood and the whole thing. Sax has been having a morning. I mean, she's just been having a morning, and the truth is, we're live now, and she's having her.
Thank you, Bryce.
She's having.
I was
her
like,
moment.
I'm not going to take this personal.
Projection?
Yes.
No. This started for morning snuggles. We had good morning snuggles.
We had great morning snuggles.
We did. You were fantastic.
I usually am. Thank you.
I'm getting really. I really love snuggling.
It's because it's really the best.
I'm really good at it. Like I'm at least at solid 10. You know?
Yeah.
It's just like anything else. You want to get stronger, lift more weights, you know? You want to get better at snuggling, you got to snuggle like really fucking snuggle.
It was like sweaty snuggling this morning.
You were sweating.
I was so hot. I woke up, I was like, oh my God. This is like hot.
We were like stuck together. It was great. Fuck. What are we doing?
I don't know.
Okay, take two. We're going to start over.
We're here to talk about our kids, too.
Yep,
so
we're going to talk about our
not
fucking kids. Let's talk about those
sex
fucking
episode.
kids.
We're going to talk about our kids.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sean and Sax show.
Golly.
Sax has a sweating problem as well.
I love to sleep with this huge sheepskin fur because it's like weighted.
It's on top of the down comforter. That's on top of the other comforter.
Yeah, and then there's two quilts. I love. Wait, you might as well just sleep on top of me because I just love.
I do.
Weighted blankets.
I'm awake on top
me.
of you too sometimes.
And it's great when I first get into bed because our bedroom's chilly. But man, we just cook under there, and by morning it's hot.
Yes, we do. We were going to talk about kids. We're going to talk about our hot bed.
How to make them. Yeah.
Well,
here's
we're
really good
at
making them. We're not going to make them together.
Oh, that! And
I went to the doctor's today.
Yeah, congratulations!
I got a new IUD.
Great job!
It's just fucking great.
Great job. Is that what? Oh, that's the problem. You had people freaking getting after you on there. Okay, I have a lot more empathy now. I wasn't aware that you had doctors up in your freaking junk today.
Well,
that's why you're in a bad mood.
I'm not.
I'd be in
I'm
a bad
actually
mood
in a good mood. I'm in a good mood. But I did have someone stretch my cervix this morning, which is very uncomfortable. But that was like...
Damn right you did. That's what got so fucking sweaty in bed. That's why the bed was so sweaty.
And the good news is it's good for another 7 years, so Sean doesn't have to get a vasectomy, which he doesn't want to do, for another 7 years at least. So you're welcome.
Thanks, babe.
Best wife ever.
Get some swig cookies on the way home. You'll be great. Well,
so yeah, let's talk about our kids.
Let's talk about our kids.
We've had a lot going on in the parenting department. Is that a smooth transition?
It's great. You did phenomenal.
Good.
So good, babe.
Well, this topic prompted because I got a phone call from a very dear friend yesterday, and she was quite flustered and emotional around how to navigate certain things in her parenting. And she asked me, she said, I have these fears around something my daughter wants to do, and I don't know how to handle it because I keep projecting. Maybe that's the correlation. Keep projecting my fears upon to my daughter and what she wants to do. And so she was asking me for help and guidance because I have a few kids. And I told her, I said, the way that I've always parented is I let my children choose what they want to do. And then I create boundaries of safety around that. So then they get freedom of choice. Because I was raised with a very fearful parent where I wasn't really allowed to fall on my face. I wasn't really allowed to stretch and maybe risk a little bit. It was just like, that's too scary, so stay here. But, Jordan Peterson actually just did a talk on this where he's like, you want your kids to screw up in the confines of like the safety of your home. You want them to cause some trouble outside of the home while they're at home, because then they kind of like they find boundaries in that. And I told her, I said, it was about gymnastics, and she was worried about pushing her daughter, or having her daughter push her body too hard, or where that would take her, with an eating disorder, because this mother struggled with that. And so she had all this emotion around it. I said, truly, like, if your daughter wants to do this and that's what she wants to do, then you should let her embrace her and follow her passion, and you just create safety around that and boundaries. But let her have that, and it has nothing to do with you. Kind of like with hockey, my oldest plays hockey for 12 years, and he had 2 severe concussions that ended up finalizing his career in it. And it was really emotional. It was really, really emotional. It was scary for a while because he had a lot of brain issues and memory issues. And my little guy in the last year just became obsessed with hockey, and he's like, Mom, I want to play. And without hesitation, I said, of course, because I don't want to take a past fear and project it onto my other child and have him miss out on something that he's passionate about. Create the boundaries around that. So that's what inspired this topic for me today. You want to share what's going on with our little Brinny?
I just keep going back to the cervix conversation.
We've had a lot of big stuff.
Yeah, this is something we've been talking about because we have our 2 oldest are gone.
Yeah.
I mean, my daughter just left the nest for the first time, 3 days ago? 4 days ago? Mm-hmm. Somewhere around there. And it's been interesting because it's like she's been training horses, training animals for the last couple of years. And I mean, that's scary in and of itself, like, letting your kids go do something, but, her now taking off and being gone for a month, it's just a weird space to be, because, like, you're always going to be dad. Well, I'm always going to be dad, and wanting to have the protection of the kids, but then wanting to let them go do that, and experience that. But, like, at the same time, me saying, let them go do that. I mean, who am I to stop them, really? Mm-hmm. Who am I really
that's
to
a
stop
different
my
age
kid?
Bracket.
I think, as we've been talking about this in the sweaty sheets, the thing is I'm looking at my daughter, who's 19, who's 3,000 miles away on this island, literally training these exotic animals on this in this resort, and it's like I was a little overbearing, maybe, as she was leaving, maybe a lot of overbearing. I don't know. You can inject whatever you want to say right now, dear, if you want to.
You're just being a protective dad. But it's not good or bad. It just
I realized when she left, she had like 3 connecting flights to get down to this island, and I realized I'm like, I've shared with her everything I could share. Mm-hmm. I trained, I taught, I led, I coached, really everything that I knew, right? And what I know is what I know, because this is my oldest daughter, and this is my first rodeo is having a daughter and like being a parent, right? And we have all these books and these resources and things and people and everybody that wants to chirp in our ear about what's right and what's wrong and what to do and how to do it. And I just realized, like, I've empowered my daughter. My goal was to empower my children to become fiercely independent. Right. And people ask me all the time, what's your legacy? What do you want your legacy to be? My legacy is not money. My legacy is not a political career. It's not about leaving them apartment complexes and millions of dollars. If I build my quote unquote legacy well, I empower my children to be fiercely independent and to cut their own teeth in life. And it's really easy to say. It's radically easy to say. Yeah. And then all of a sudden my daughter's like, okay, I'm going to bounce for a month. Peace out. I'm going to go literally cut my teeth in life and go be an adult. Yeah. And it's terrifying. But at the same time, like, over the last 2 days since she's been gone, I'm just like, I'm way cool. I'm way calm. Because it's like, watching your kid play hockey, watching, my son wrestle, watching my son play football, whatever. Like, I could sit there and live in this place of fear and live in this place of control. But I realized, like, I did the best that I knew how to do as a father to truly empower my kids, to let them make mistakes, to let them You know, my philosophy might be a little bit different, but your kid keeps screaming to touch the stove. I want to touch the stove. I want to touch the stove. I want to touch the stove. Our natural tendency is to do everything and anything possible to ensure that they don't, because we know that the stove is hot and it's going to hurt. But what I've learned as a dad, and again, this might be completely different philosophy than a lot of other people, but I'm like, I'm just going to let my kid touch the stove one time because I know that they'll never touch it again.
Right.
And I believe, like, you know, you get a kid who falls off and hits his head and doesn't wear his helmet on his bike and it freaking rattles his brain a little bit. That's the only time he's going to ride his fucking bike without a helmet. You know, and people say, well, what if? And you can what if the hell out of life. You can what if all these fucking scenarios, and you can what if until the day you die. But the truth of the matter is these kids are going to grow up and they're going to make a lot of the same mistakes. They're going to be prideful and egotistical and arrogant like we were. They're going to be super defiant like we were as kids. And my goal is to try and show them not only the independence, but to keep, like you said, those rails. Like,
yeah.
You know, I don't want you sitting on the hot stove and sitting there for 5 hours and really harming yourself, but you want to freaking touch the stove for a second, go right ahead, and you won't do it again. And so the last couple of days have been kind of a trip, but I'm really in a good place now with, again, having my oldest daughter, my only daughter, but my oldest child, who you know has me wrapped around her finger, gone, where I can't protect her, I can't show up, she can't text me and say, Dad, I have a flat tire. She's gonna have to fucking solve her own flat tires. Mm-hmm. She's gonna have to solve her own problems now. And literally over the last probably day, I've had like a really cool vibe come over me where it's like, dude, you trained your daughter well.
Yeah. Like
you led her well. Like you showed her well. She knows what's right, what's wrong. She knows what's safe, what's not. And there's really no reason for you to be afraid. There's no reason for you to be like this overbearing, texting, calling me every freaking 5 minutes kind of a thing. You did well. Like, you did well with her. Yeah. And she's now going to get to go cut her teeth in life. But I don't know. It's such a weird thing because we live in a time where, I mean, my youngest can't play tag at school because you're not allowed to have physical contact on the playground. Yeah. Which is just the most odd thing to me. It's the most odd thing to me that the kids can't play tag. They're not allowed to have, quote unquote, they're not allowed to play games that have physical contact involved. Now they can play football and they can play, you know, other sports and whatever. But on the playground, there's the rule on the playground that you're not allowed to play the games. Like when I was a kid, we played Smear the Queer, we played Red Rover. If you were beating me in, you know, Foursquare, I took that little red ball and I freaking smacked it right up in your face to piss you off and the whole thing. Like, this is how I was raised, right? And it's just this odd experience now where the world would have our children and our youth be raised with no violence, no pain, no emotions, no anything. And yet all of life is that. Mm-hmm. It really is that. Like, we are going through that as adults, and I'm a firm believer that the more I can indoctrinate my children into the reality of life and the reality of the world, the better they're going to be. Yeah. You know?
And truly, like, teaching them to trust themselves. I think that's one of the greatest things that we can teach our children is to trust themselves. Because if not, they're going to go out in the world, and who are they going to trust if they can't trust themselves?
Well, dude, my daughter's 3,000 miles away. She falls off a horse. She can't run to mom. She can't run to dad. Mm-hmm. She can't call me and say, solve my problems. Like she has to solve her own problems now. She has to figure out how to fucking take care of herself now. She has to fucking do it. There is no dad right next door. There is no mom right next door.
And the beautiful thing is that she can do that. Like, she's well equipped. She's so equipped. And part A is like, I'm so proud of you because I've seen you go from really, really struggling with this.
Okay, we're back. I was mid-thought and the recorder died. Man, this is just a doozy of a day for this podcast.
I love it.
I don't even remember what I was talking about. Or were you talking?
You were talking about Bryn leaving and you getting to a great place.
But then you said you were proud of me.
I did say I was proud of you. Yeah. I am very proud to see, you know, because you were struggling with this. Mm-hmm. And there's multiple things I'm proud of. You were really struggling with it. But Bryn really just stuck to her guns, which she does because she's stubborn and she's fiery, just like her daddy.
Fiercely independent and a firecracker.
And once she stands in her convictions, which makes her great. But I've been really proud of you because you were really struggling with it. You wanted her to do what you needed her to do, and she wasn't doing it for you.
Yeah.
And it was this like, it was almost like a power struggle between you. And she just continued on. She just continued on, and she got on her plane and she did her thing. And you were struggling because, you know, like that's an extension of your heart that goes out into the world. And she's going to a place where you can't just go and save her, like you've said, and protect her. And she's got to do it on her own. And, you know, and she just kept doing it. And so then a few days passed, and I love that you've completely like surrendered to the fact, surrendered in a really beautiful way of like honoring her. You've surrendered to the fact that she can take care of herself.
Look, I mean, she has to. You know, this is weird, and there's probably some people out there listening to this that have older kids are like, yeah, we've already been there, we've already done that, and good for you. Like, it's awesome. But there's probably a lot of people listening, too, that have children that are not 18 or that are under that age. And it's weird because, like, we have this, as a young parent, you're raising this child, and this is your thing.
Mm-hmm.
Your life revolves around it. Your life, like, revolves around the production and the safety, and this is your life. And for 18, 19, 20 years.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the kid leaves, and it's like everything that I've ever known of protecting my daughter, always being there, having her there, regardless of, you know, anything. Mm-hmm. It's different now. And the entire dynamic changes to where, like, I literally don't have the ability to do anything. Like, if she was in trouble, if she broke down, if she needed this, if she needed that. And it's this weird dynamic where it's not that, you know, hey, I'm going to give her some space or she's going to go do this, but I'm still here as dad. Like, I'm radically disconnected physically, right? We're still connected emotionally and talk and text and the whole thing, but like, it's a really scary proposition. But at the same time, it's also really empowering and liberating as like, this is kind of a test. This is like the first real test of the independence of my kid. Mm-hmm. This is the first real test of like, you know, maybe how I did as a dad, maybe how I raised her, how I empowered her, whatever. And it's terrifying, but at the same time, it's kind of exhilarating. Like, I remember being young. I remember having the adventurous mind. I remember having the, you know, these thoughts and desires, and now she's sitting here living this. But like, the one thing I really, I wanted to share, you know, with this, especially with parents, and understand, like, I have 3 of my own biological children, and I have 2 stepsons. And so I've got 5 kids that I very much, people are going to hear what I'm saying and think, well, you don't know my situation. We all have a very similar situation. Mm-hmm. If you're a parent, whether you have a you know, you're co-parenting with an ex or you're still together, whatever, like, it's a really, really, really powerful experience to not only be a parent, but to be a parent that allows your child to go experience their own reality. Mm-hmm. Now, it's a fine line. Maybe it's not a fine line in that protection, but like, I really, truly, truly, truly believe that, like, you've got to let your kids, like, experience real emotions. You've got to let your kids, for lack of better words, fight. They need to learn to solve their own problems. This is something that, like, as a dad, when my kids were younger, my daughter, my sons, like they would fight and they'd get into these arguments. Dad, he said and she said, and I'd say, solve your problem. Solve the problem. Like, I never really wanted to get in the middle of going, okay, well, what did you say? Well, what did you say? Well, who was right and who was wrong? And try and be that referee. Like, my philosophy as a dad has always been like, solve your own problems. And so long as you're standing there, like, somewhat holding that space, they're going to figure it out. Mm-hmm. They're going to figure it out. You know, I mean, I had to figure a lot of this shit out. You had to figure a lot of this shit out. And this is a hard thing for a parent. Like, I have a lot of empathy as a parent for other parents. But, like, if there's anything I can share with you guys, it's really understanding that, like, your kids need to learn what pain is. They need to understand frustration. They need to be humbled. They you know, I look at school and I look at bullies, and it sounds really weird, but, like, we have this huge war going on, bullying and all this other stuff. And I know that a lot of the lessons that I learned were learned by being bullied as a kid. I was bullied as a kid, and you know, I learned a lot of really powerful fucking things. But if I'd never experienced that, how would I know anything now today as an adult of bullying? How would I know anything? And again, this might be a little bit different for some people because they think, well, we should just shelter them from all of these things and have no bullies and don't let them fall and scrape their knees or bust their head or get into a fist fight. There's nothing more literally like equalizing and truly like transformative to a human being when like you have to go into that depth of emotion and really understand it. And I firmly believe that the more you allow your children to understand these emotions and live them, but most importantly, solve the problems without being the goddamn referee that's in their face 24/7, it's going to empower your kids. It's going to fucking empower your kids. And I truly believe that as they grow up, it will only be a benefit to them having had to solve problems as a kid, having had to bloody their knuckles a couple of times, having had to, get pushed around and push around and solve some of these emotional battles that not only go on inside, but like with other people, right? I don't know. It's at least a story I'm telling myself while my daughter's 3,000 miles away and she's still alive and she's still making it through a day. And I'm sure she's battling, some of these things, and she's working with animals and probably falling off horses and dealing with people that she's never met and emotions that, are real. And at the end of the day, I'd like to think that when her and her brothers were fighting, that me saying, hey, solve your problems or create the solution is something that she carries to today, where she can solve her own problems. She can create the remedies. She can create the solutions that help her move forward in life without needing or thinking there's going to be a referee or thinking there's going to be somebody to help equalize the emotions of life. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
And energetically sending an empowered child out into the world or young adult and standing behind them and backing their own empowerment in faith in their decision. Like, this is what with Bryn, like I've sent her some messages and I've been like, I'm proud of you that you took this leap. And that reinforcement that she made the right decision, that reinforcement that she's got support, the reinforcement that she made, that we have her back even from there, that energetically sets her up too to feel way more secure, instead of like, say, and sometimes I talk about my past like it's negative, but it was really great. But it's different with me is like I moved out and it was constantly like, because bless my mother's heart, like she was so scared to let me out in the world. She was so scared that the world would eat me alive. And I took that with me because it was a part of me that if my own mother didn't believe in me and believe in my ability to be successful, then maybe I'm not capable. Thankfully, I have strong will and I'm incredibly me. And so I just said, fuck it, and did it anyways. But I did struggle with that. I did struggle with that fear of like, maybe I'm not equipped. Maybe I can't take care of myself. Maybe I can't pay all my own bills. Maybe I can't, I had all this, I wasn't quite sure. And so as a parent, I've always, or at least I feel like I've always gotten to, with the kids, it's like, you've got this. Like, you've got this. Yeah. Even when it's hard and they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, no, you fucking got this. Yeah. Tyne is my oldest. He's gone off to college and I've spoken about him before, but he was a really cool lesson for me. Because when he graduated, he just bounced. He graduated high school, took his scholarship, and peace out. And his first semester at the university, he made the dean's list, and he has he's so committed. He stays so committed. And there was no like lingering, like, well, it's just like, he knew where he was going. He made it possible to go where he's going. He got his scholarship. He set it all up, and then he just applies himself. And I thought, at first I was like, damn, that was like ripping the Band-Aid off for a mom. But I thought, you know what? I feel like that's evidence that I've done a good job as his mother, because he didn't linger around. Wasn't super insecure. He just left and went on and is killing it in life. And Bryn's the same thing. It's just like, we have these kids that are just like, peace. Yeah. We're going to go live in this world. And we're like, oh shit. I think we really built them up to really. You're like, don't stay here. But actually we maybe it's overconfidence, but no, truly, like, it's so rad. It's like, as much as inside I'm like, oh my God, they're so big. They're doing all these things. I'm so fucking proud of them. And I'm really, really grateful that, that we're in a place where we can just sit back and support it and not necessarily buy into the fears, because we all have fears. It doesn't matter who you are. If you've had a child, if you've brought a child onto this planet, like, it comes with a lot of fear and a lot of oh shit, because you feel like you're responsible. But but truly, like, we're not responsible for these children. Like, we were given them to help create boundaries. And Jordan Peterson's, I've shared this before, in the 12 Rules for Life, there's a book on parenting. Read it. And it's about creating those boundaries so that my kids understand where boundaries are, and then they create great lives for themselves within the construct of that.
Yeah. I wanted to share one other dynamic with this, because as we were talking about this for the show, a story came to my mind. And this is something that came up the other day when I was doing a Q&A on Instagram. Somebody was talking about how their kid, just wants to play video games all day. And, there's something that I've learned as a dad. When I had 2 boys, it was like, these boys are going to be stars. They're going to be fast. They're going to whatever. They're going to be brave. They're going to play sports and be the best and the whole thing. And, my oldest son, you put him on a dirt bike, and he's like Evel Knievel, right?
Yeah.
You put my youngest son on a dirt bike, and he's terrified to go more than 2 miles an hour. You give my oldest son a football, and he throws like a total girl. You give my youngest son a football, and he throws a perfect spiral 50 yards, right? It's just this interesting dynamic. But I'll never forget, this is a lesson that stuck with me since I was a Mormon missionary. When I was on my mission, we were teaching this family, and this kid just wanted to play video games all day long. The goal of the missionary, and you're trying to build a relationship with these families and with people and build a real rapport. And all this kid wanted to do was talk about video games, right? And I know a lot of people struggle with stuff like this with kids, especially nowadays with technology the way that it is, and everybody's got all this stuff. And I'll never forget something my mission president told me. He's like, well, then go play, if you want to build a relationship with this kid and this is what he's into, go play games with him. Go play video games. And that like spun my mind, because technically as a missionary, you weren't supposed to play video games and all this other stuff. But that lesson from him has been with me ever since. And I realized that I'm not my kids, and my kids are not me. Like, they're not going to love everything that I love. They're not going to be good at everything I'm good at. My kids might not be entrepreneurial. They might not want to build a business. They might not want to do this or this or this. And one of the things that I think is really, really, really important as a parent is to really love your kid where they are. If your kid's playing video games for 10 hours a day and failing in school, that's a big, disciplinary problem and guidance problem on your part, right? But what I'm talking about is like kids having a different passion and a different desire and a different skill set than maybe their father. And sometimes it causes contention where we're like, I don't give a shit about video games, but he wants to play video games. And, the truth of the matter is that there's kids making millions of dollars playing video games today, right? But I have chosen, I'm not into bugs. I'm not into snakes. I wasn't for so long. I am now. But Bryn, my daughter, from a very, very, very young age, and I'm talking like 3, 4, was like collecting bugs, and we'd go camping, and she'd have every snake there was to find within a 10-mile radius. She would have in a bag or a box, and she'd come over and hand me these snakes and the whole thing. I was never into it, but it was like, this is what my daughter's into. I want to participate with my daughter. I want to show my daughter that what she likes and loves is something that I'll support and want to be part of. I think it's really important nowadays, especially with the amount of data coming in, with the amount of attention coming in, with the amount of distractions, if you will, coming into kids' lives, and kids really having not only a lot of choices of what to do and where to go, different skill sets, different things, with their attention being pulled so many places. I think it's really, really, really important for parents to love their kids where they are. We want our kids to be this. We want our kids to be that. We want our kids to be successful and to be this and to be all these other things. But I think one of the most powerful things that will show kids that it's okay to be who they are, to show them and really like help support them in becoming individuals, is to really stand in a space that they love and that they want to be. Case in point, Bryn. I don't know fuck all about horses. I didn't grow up around them. The closest I ever came to wildlife was the petting zoo when it came to the JCPenney parking lot when I was a kid. And here's my daughter at 14 years old getting a horse and now becoming a really good trainer of animals, right? This is not something that I'm good at. This is not something that like I have a skill set around. But every time I'm with her, it's like this is her world and her space. And I'm going into her world and her space and supporting her in that and being taught by her, learning from her, having her share things with me. And I think in a roundabout way, her having the not only the tenacity and the passion to go be out on her own, to go do things. I like to think that me supporting her where she is given her the ability to really create that individual dynamic, her individuality, you know what I mean? And to feel safe there and to feel good there. Because there's a lot of, I get this question literally every single time I do a Q&A. What do I do about my kid? He likes this and I don't like this. I'm like, well, then fucking go love the kid. Go love your kid wherever they are. If their kid wants to paint and draw and you want to go play sports, but your kid doesn't want to do that, then you can bang your head against the wall and try and force your kid to go do this, or go love and support your kid where they are. And I think that comes to a very important lesson for parents, that we might not have been raised that way, but we now have an opportunity to shift gears and to raise our kids different. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? To show our kids something different. And really that means us expanding. That means us doing things that we might not otherwise do. I suck at video games. Every single time my youngest son wants to play Fortnite, it's like 3.2 fucking seconds and I'm dead. I don't know how to play it. It's not my jam. It's not my rodeo. Right. But every now and again, Pierce wants to play Fortnite with me. And I get in. It's not something I'm super passionate about, but I'm passionate about being a dad. Yeah. I'm passionate about connecting with my son. And of course, he thinks it's fucking hilarious because he could tell me 500.
He also beats you at chess. He's just a good little gamer.
Not at chess. He doesn't beat me at chess. He beats me at bowling all the time, but he beats everybody at bowling.
He does. He's a good bowler.
But I think this is really important for parents to understand, too, that you have to love your kids where they are. And it might not be where you are. You have to love your kids like with the passions and the loves that they have. And I believe as being when I was raised by a dad, it was like, be these things, go do these things. And if I wasn't these things, I was being a rebellious little shit and all this other stuff. I think it's really, really, really important for kids to find their own individuality, but to also have parents that support them and to have parents that endorse them exploring and doing different things, like playing different sports. Doing, different things like, hockey, wrestling, like trying all of these different things,
Yeah, well, with time, like when Tyne was at home, he always played video games. He built his own computer and all he did was play video games. And I knew that it was something I had no idea about. And I knew that I could project my fears about, what I hear in the media about, it's going to, kids shoot up schools when they play violent video games. Well, then I had to step back and say, my son's a 4.0 student. And he's playing a physical sport, those were the rules. Is that you got to do good in school, or at least apply yourself. It's good. You need to do good.
Good subjective.
Yes. Like, I never cared if he was a 4.0 student. He cared that he was a 4.0 student. So he was very easy in that department. But it was like I needed him to do something physical because I know the benefits of moving your body. And as long as that all fit in there, I didn't care about the video games. Well, fast forward, he's getting a freaking degree in computer engineering because he's smart enough to get that instead of the computer science because of all the excess.
He's smart as shit.
He's super smart. And he wants to this is what he wants to do for a living, is work with software, computer gaming. Who knows where he'll be. I always knew he'd be successful, but I had to look at that like, okay, this is something I don't understand, nor do I really like, because he sits in a dark room and hangs out with people that aren't there, and it was weird for me. Yeah. And I realized, like, I can't fear project on this kid.
Yeah, you didn't know it, so you could project, hey, don't do this. This is bad because I don't know anything about it.
Because it's what I've heard in the news.
Yeah, or somebody else said, or Karen from down the street, her kid's freaking whacked out on video games or whatever. But literally, your son is, Tyne is fucking smart. Smart as shit.
Smarter than
He'll
me.
end up being a billionaire and inventing something and be like, it's because I played freaking 16 hours of freaking games.
Call of Duty.
It's like, shit,
Yeah.
But it's true.
And, a lot of it, too, is I'm proud to say that I've always checked myself as a parent, like stayed fluid a little bit and not so rigid in like, because I'm the mom and I say so, because I'm the mom, and like have that real strict authority of I'm just fucking scared is what that really translates to. I'm scared. I don't know how to answer that question. So I'm just going to pull the authority card and no. And that's bullshit. Like these kids, they're individuals and they have ideas that we don't have. They have inspiration we don't have. They have a whole different world they're living in than us. So like maybe staying a little open to that, and just because you don't understand it or you may be scared of it or you may have a bad experience like with me with the hockey, that has nothing to do with this other child. Like I didn't want to. What's nuts is I didn't even notice I did that until someone brought it to my attention. they're like, man, you went through so much shit with Tyne and his concussions, and I can't believe you let Relic play hockey. I'm like, oh, it didn't even cross my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Because we played 11 years of hockey before we had 2 severe concussions in his final year. So it's like, oh, I didn't even, because I don't live in a fear.
Yeah.
I don't live in fear. So my brain didn't even compute that. So, yeah.
I love it.
Projecting fear is bullshit.
But we do it.
We do it.
We do it. And we do it as parents. And we say, like, we want our kids to experience something different than we experienced, but we show up the same way in a lot of ways our parents did.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's fucking wild, man. It's totally wild.
And if you do, just own it.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a freaking dick to your kids about something, or like with me, if I've overreacted with Tyne, I've just come to him and been like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, I way overreacted. I didn't think it through. I was, like, only looking through this narrow, like, vision of what the whole thing was. And, all right, that was, like, my bad.
Yeah.
And I think that, too, teaches your kids a huge skill in life is owning their shit.
One thing that I constantly go back to is, like, and I think this is really good for people to think about is even with us, especially, like, you're looking around at other parents, and they don't know any more than I know. Like, everybody's fucking shooting from the hip with this deal, right? We think just because there's books out there on how to parent, that's like how to parent. The reality is, like, there is no rule. There is no one way of doing things. There is no perfect way. If you do this with your kids, and they're going to end up in, on the dean's list. It doesn't exist. It's not real. And I think
there's too many variables.
we have a lot of we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, but at the same time, we gauge a lot of where we are based off of where somebody else is, or a lot of what we're doing, not only in our lives, but with being parents based off of this or this or this, or what we see in all these other places. And to be totally candid, those parents are winging it too. Those parents are fucking shooting from the hip too. And it's like that with everything in life. And this is something that has helped me find a lot of peace in, number one, making mistakes, but number two, like, taking more chances. Is like, everybody literally woke up today with a blank fucking slate. No one has experienced today. Like, think that through for 2 seconds. I've never had a child that's at this age. Today's the first day for that. It's the first day that your child was this age. And today was the first day that I saw this sunrise and saw this thing and had this experience. And if you really start breaking it down and looking at it that way, it makes navigating not only life, but I think parenting a little bit less stressful, a little bit less cumbersome, where you're looking at it going, the neighbors next door, they look like they have all the shit together, but they're trying to fucking figure it out too. You know what I mean? And I think as a parent, when you look at it and say, hey, this is my opportunity to be in this experience with this kid, and I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want, I think that's really liberating. It's really exciting to look at it that way, and it takes a lot of pressure, if you will, and stress off, knowing that no one really knows. Today's a brand new fucking day, right? And whatever is going to happen, and I get to create an experience around that. But I chose to quit judging where I was as a dad based off of where him were as a dad, because I realized those motherfuckers don't know anything more than me. Those dudes are freaking going at it the same way I'm going at it. And I can ask 100 dads what they did with their 19-year-old daughters, and I might get 99 different freaking answers. But this is my child. This is my life. This is my turn with a 19-year-old, and I feel like, I guess this is a long roundabout way to say that I think I'm doing a really good fucking job as a dad. I'm doing really freaking great. They're all still alive. They're all still out of jail.
That's an
that I
accomplishment.
know of. You know what I'm saying? I think I'm doing pretty fucking good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I tell the kids all the time, proudly, I'm like, you didn't come with instruction guides.
No.
Like, I wanted you because I wanted the experience of being a mother and getting the experience to raise these children. But, like, I didn't know what I really signed up for, and all I know is how to love you. So, like, help me understand where you're coming from, and together, like, we'll do this.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of power in that.
yeah, like, I'm a human, you're a human, and we're in this together, and my goal is love. So
I think if a lot more parents thought that way and took that on, there'd be, maybe, I don't want to say stress, but, like, understanding that there's a lot of empathy for that. Like, we can judge the shit out of each other, but the truth is none of us really knows exactly what the hell's going on. And we've got enough data to know that other parents made it and other parents did this and that, but, like, truthfully, like, this is my rodeo. This is your rodeo. Like, we get one shot at this, and if you decide you want to do something different with your kids and what they did with their kids, great, so be it. You want to change up the game from how your mom and dad raised you and you raise your kids differently, so be it. Right? But it's your rodeo.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Right. Amen. God bless America.
God bless those
Anything
babies.
else you want to talk about, babe?
No. That was good.
That was good?
Yeah. Fear projection. Fear anything. It's just no bueno.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's that IUD doing? Is it good?
I think it's still in there.
Oh,
pretty
God
sure it's
almighty.
good.
What a freaking day. All right, guys, you're doing great. Parents, you're doing great. If your kids are still alive, you get an A+. If your kids have only been to jail, once or twice, you get a B+. And you just go down the list from there. You know what I mean? You're doing great. Everybody's doing freaking great.
C's a passing grade.
Babe, you're doing amazing. You're doing awesome.
I know.
You really are.
I'm proud of all these kids. I'm proud of being a stepmom too. That's been a whole new, beautiful experience. I feel honored that I get to have biological children and stepchildren. Yeah, it's a different type of love. It's a different type of discipline. It's a different type of, it's just a different relationship.
But is it really?
Yeah, it is.
I think it's, well.
It is, because you come in at halftime in these kids' lives, and you can't just jump in and just be what you are with your kids, because there's no trust there. There's no real love or connection established, and you get to establish all of that at halftime. And that, it's one thing, like, babies are born loving their mamas. Like, they get so much of this original bonding time. Bryn was born into my life when she was 17, 18, or 17. I mean, that's more than halftime. And yet I'm honored to have built a beautiful relationship with this now woman who I get to be her cheerleader. I get to be her friend. I get to be an ally and a confidant, not necessarily a mother that I didn't get all the motherly stuff, but I get a totally different level of a parental relationship with her, and it's cool. It's way cool. And I have a lot of respect for step parents, because it's not necessarily the easiest, but it's really rewarding because you get love. Or you get to love in a way that is really beautiful. It's like it's by choice, I feel extremely honored. Yeah.
The only reason I say that is because it's, when you say different, to me, it's like when everybody asks, about stepkids, I just say you should love them the same. Like, I don't love your kids any different than my kids. It is a different love. I definitely agree with that. But, like, your kid's going to be a shithead, just like my kid's going to be a shithead, and I'm going to talk to them both the exact same way. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's understanding that these kids are, everybody wants the same reality. We all want to be loved. We want to be, honored and appreciated, and, it's fun watching our kids. Like, we could do an entire show about Pierce and Relic, dude.
They're great.
They're like, literally hit it off like brothers. It's really, if you've seen the movie Step Brothers,
oh God,
it's very much like that.
It's literally identical, but they're littler.
They literally have bunk beds in a bed,
and they literally quoted the movie when they put them together.
And they freaking punch each other, and they throw shit at each other, and then they're like best friends 3 minutes later.
They order dinner at restaurants, like.
Oh yeah,
they
what are you gonna
get? Share entrees. They're so funny.
They're awesome.
But see, back to that, like, that's a different relationship, because Pierce is 12, and I take on a much more like mother role for him, and I love that I get to be that for him, because I've looked at, that's like the reflection of my life. My step parents were great. The step parents that have been involved in my children's life before you came, with Audrey. Tiny stepmom, like, she's incredible, and like that's just additional love for my children, and I take that very seriously, like, especially with where Pierce is at, like, he's in a very like funky space right now, and I want to serve that. I want to help him. I want to be a support and an ally for what he's going through, and help, maybe give him, something that his other parents can't, because that's the thing. I mean, that's what Audrey did for Tyne, and she was incredible. So, yeah.
You're doing great, babe.
So are you.
You're doing great.
So are you.
I know I am. Thanks. All right. Anything else, babe? Anything else you want to share?
Nope.
Good. Keep going, parents. You're doing great. You're doing really great. Most of you. Some of you are really falling short. You're just...
Yeah.
Just kidding. You're all doing great.
They're not all doing great.
Well,
But I would
for the most
imagine
part.
most are.
For the most part. Yeah. And one other thing, just keep all of our friends should just keep having babies because we get to love and appreciate everybody else's
We are
babies.
loving it.
Like Sax calls me the other day, and there's a baby in our house. And there's a little teeny baby, and our friends had a baby, and it's great.
Little Dalton, he was so cute.
So cute.
He has a little pointy nose and his little red hair. Oh, I could
God bless America.
snuggle him all day long.
All right, guys, we love you. Keep doing the good things.
Yes.
See ya.
And thank you for all your shares.
And thank you for all your
comments.
shares and your
We
comments.
love you.
Okay, see you.
Bye.
Bye.